Hi guys, I'm waiting a little bit. I hope you're all safe and well. Thank you for joining me today for this new episode of Essential. I'm so happy because my first guest is an Olympian, Gwen Berry. She holds the longest recorded distance thrown overseas by a female American hammer throwing date. She has been a hammer thrower for 11 years. She's been recognized for a courageous, peaceful stance in the Pan Am Games in 2019 against social injustices. I want you to know that I created this platform just to tell the story about female athletes all over the world, not just in one country. And I can't wait for you to discover all the guests that we have and to hear their story, their challenges, and to celebrate their triumph. So, Gwen Berry, he's with us today. Listen to her story. Hi. You're so beautiful. Thank you so much.
I too. How are you?
I'm great. I'm asking the question. So, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Just trying to make sure the setup is right for our folks joining.
Yes. Perfect.
My phone is heavy.
Do you have a thing to put behind?
Yeah. Let me see. I think this will
Which
work.
is good. I think the song is great. If everyone can check, tell me if how
Oh,
is the song. But I think it's good.
there we go.
So, what are you feeling? How are you right now?
I'm feeling okay. I'm feeling encouraged. Training is going pretty okay. You know, we don't have any track meets coming up, so that's kind of discouraging. But for the most part, I'm feeling okay.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about like how the pandemic affected your training and your sport. So it's something that I really want to talk about. But first, we want to know how you get into the sport. How did you start doing this sport? Tell us your story.
What was crazy is I've always been a basketball player. Like when I was younger, I truly believed that I
Ah,
was WNBA, okay? And
that's so
I
funny.
didn't get into track and field. The only reason why I got into track and field was because I wanted to be ready for basketball season. My basketball coach told us that track and field would like help us, you know, just stay in shape for basketball season and like run faster and stuff like that. So me and a couple of my friends, we started to run track, and we were jumpers and sprinters, you know, because you know that basically helps with basketball. And
Yeah.
I was a jumper and a sprinter for 3 years,
So
and
how old were you?
I was 15, 16, 17 when
Oh.
I started track and field. And what's crazy is I was recruited as a jumper out of college, out of high school. So I didn't even
Mm,
in high school at all. I didn't even know what the hammer throw was. I didn't even know.
that's crazy.
Yeah. And so when I got to college, one of the coaches who was the throws coaches, he said that I reminded him of an athlete that he had coached before. So he kept
Mm.
trying to convince me to throw the hammer. And I was like, no, I do not want to throw the hammer. I do not want to throw with these girls. They're better than me. I do not want to do that. I'm just going to stick to jumping and, you know, doing the multi-events. So he kept begging me. And then he asked my high school coach to convince me. So I'm like, oh. So I tried it and I got good at it really quickly. Crazy.
That's awesome. So you'd say you didn't choose your sport, like someone came and like asked you to do it because you had the physical skills or like the skill that they thought that you could have to be a really good for. And then how did you become this athlete right now? Like, did you go directly to World Championship? Did you dream of the Olympic Games? What was like your story?
I feel like once I started to throw the hammer and I started to see how good I was, I then believed that I could probably be an Olympian. Um,
Mm,
like, you know, as a kid, you know, you always watch the Olympic Games and, you know,
yes.
oh, and you're amazing. You're like, oh, I want to go to the Olympic Games. But like, yeah, I thought I would go for basketball. So once I
Yeah.
track and I was throwing the hammer for like the first 3 years. So I threw the hammer my sophomore, junior, and senior year of college. So once I graduated, I was just like, I really could probably make this Olympic team and be an Olympian. And so I just worked hard from there on out. And I missed my first Olympic team. I was the alternate, so I missed it by one.
It was in London? When was that?
Yeah, it was London.
Okay.
I was the alternate for that team.
Oh, and then so for 4 years, you're like, I'm going to go to Rio next time.
Yep. For 4 years, I focused 100% on Rio. Definitely.
So now where do you train? How is your training? Because you're not in high school anymore. So what is a day for you? Like, what's a specific training day?
For me, a specific day probably would be in the morning. I do what I call activation. So I get my body going. I do a couple of workouts, like I do a couple of exercises like stretching, warming up, balance, stability, abs. I do a couple of drills with the hammer, a couple of winds, a couple of step movements for at least an hour just to get my body adjusted and just to get my body going. And then about 3 hours or 4 hours after I do that, then I have a throwing session. So in that throwing session, I throw about 25 to 35 throws. And then after my I lift weights depending on what's my day, what I need to do for the day, for the night.
That's awesome. So you have like basically 3 practices a day, plus recovery. Okay. And so what would you say are the skills? Because for the people who don't really know your sport, like what the skill do you need to be a good hammer thrower? Like, well, even like not even physically, like the whole aspect of the sport.
I feel like for hammer throwers, people really think it's like a grunt, it's, you got to be hard, you got to throw hard, you got, but you have to be calm, you have to be rhythmic, you have to be calculating, and you have to have really good technique to understand the feeling of the ball. Because throw is kind of like pole vault. You are maneuvering something that's far away from you. So you have that feels
how far? How long?
You breaking up just a little bit, but the hammer throw, I think it's about, I want to say like 7 or 8 inches, maybe. It's higher. It's about 7 or 8 inches. So, yeah.
And how heavy is the ball?
So for our competition ball, it weighs 8.9 pounds. So that's 4.4 kilometers, basically.
And so at practice, you don't always throw the same weight? No. Or you always throw the same? No.
So at practice, I throw something a little bit heavier or a little bit lighter. Just so that, it can make the competition implement feel like how it needs to feel.
That's awesome. So keep going, like the skills. I just cut you off when you're explaining the skill that you need.
Oh, it's okay. Just for the skills part, I just feel like, it's a lot that goes into hammer. Like, I think it's one of the hardest events in track and field besides the hurdles, because you're actually going in a rotation, but you have to go down a circle and you have to in the circle.
Yeah. So
it's different forces working together that you have to maneuver all at one time. It's pretty complex and complicated.
Yeah, that's why I want to ask, like, how do you train like your mental skills? Like, is it important? Because I feel like it's technical, but when it's like the moment, you cannot like see everything. Like you have to go a little bit with intuitions, and like, so the mental aspect is really important. As you said, you need to stay calm. Like, so how do you train that?
So for me, that's probably one of my biggest things is kind of the mental, because with me, my adrenaline gets to me a lot. So when my adrenaline goes up, I want to go crazy and I want to just kill it. But, I like calm down. So for me, what helped me with my mental skills and just with me being calm and focused, but being able to execute and be, intentional, I started to pick up clay shooting. So on my weekdays, some of my off days, I go to this clay shooting range, and then, I just shoot orange clays, just like target. And I work on my mental, just my mental skills.
Like, yes, to stay focused, to stay calm. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. So one of the questions I want to ask all the time, is like, what is your best failure? Like best in the meaning that a failure that ending up for you in a positive thing in your life. So in your career, what is your best failure?
My best video?
No, your best failure. Like failure, like in your career, like something that ending up in a positive way for you in your career, like you rebounded from it and makes you. I'm breaking up a lot.
Yeah, just yeah.
Are you on Wi-Fi right now, or you on?
Yeah, I'm on Wi-Fi.
That's weird. My internet is good, I think usually.
I can hear you, but you just like kind of fuzzy. So I can't hear. I think you saying video. Okay, that's better. I think.
Technical problems, guys. Sorry. Can you try to get out of your Wi-Fi? Yeah, it's a little bit better.
Yeah, it is.
Good. It's blurry. I'm sorry. I was better. I think we're gonna start again. Stay with us, guys. I have so many more questions for Gwen, and you're back. No, might have been better with the Wi-Fi. You back on the Wi-Fi? It was so interesting to learn about a sport. Yes, it's a little bit better. It's just blurry, but I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, that's good. That's good.
Good.
That's good.
All right. Maybe it's Instagram. Someone said like it might be the Instagram. So no, vacation was like, okay. What is your best failure? Like a failure that ending up in a positive thing for you in your career. Something that you remember maybe you lost, but at some point it helped you to move forward.
I think my best failure for me may have been missing out on my first Olympic team. I do believe that, so 2012 was my first Olympic trials, and I missed out on the team by one spot. I was a team alternate. Mm-hmm. But I think that really helped motivate me. It humbled me, and it made me realize that I had a lot of work to do, and that, you know, I had to perfect my craft more. So that was one of my best failures, I feel like, for my career, because it just catapulted me. And then, you know, after that, you know, I started to get better and better, and I reached heights that I didn't normally reach.
That's inspiring. So thank you. So I wanted to talk about a recent event in America, but before that, you're an athlete and you protested in 2019. You won this competition. You were about to go to the podium, and like, what happened in your mind? Like, what made you stand against all injustice? Like, I want to know, like, what, because did you know during the competition that if you had a medal you would do that, or did it happen just right before the podium? I know that all the time, like, you know, like in America, like these issues are there forever. It's not just what happened recently. So you had to live through that, and like to live to maybe to discrimination, racism, and all these things. So it's been with you all the time, but how do you deal with that, and how did it come just before you decided to protest?
I feel like my protest was definitely a spur of the moment type of thing. I feel like something came over me, and I wanted to express myself, and I wanted to let people know where I stood, who I stood for, and who I supported with everything I do, track and field included. I also feel like I made my stance on the podium because I feel like usually, if you look at the world, a lot of people don't like to see Black people on top. Like, let's just be real. Anytime a Black person is on top, they have to go through the worst trials and tribulations. They have the worst stories, the worst upbringings. And usually people tried to keep them down purposefully so they don't succeed. So I think one of the reasons why I did the Black Power Salute was to show people that Black people, even though we go through these trials and tribulations and we're always discriminated against and we're always put in this system that doesn't support us and we're always considered less than human beings, we're still here, still we rise. You know, we still overcome, we're still here, we're still fighting, and, you know, we still want to be respected and treated like human beings. And I feel like the podium was a perfect place to do that and to express that and to voice that. And I'm glad I did that in that moment, because I feel like now with everything going on in the United States, it was important for me to start that. Me and Race both, and Colin Kaepernick. It was important that we did those things when it wasn't popular, so that people could see that people truly care. And we are people who, you know, we truly want to see a change. So I feel like that's why I did that.
No, it's so powerful what you're saying. It's like, it's important that it's not a trend. It's not just right now. It's like, it's a fight for a life change. So it's really important what you're saying. And like, I want to come back like in this moment, like in the Pan Am Games in Lima, because after that you had to come back to America. Maybe it had a lot of press, and like maybe, I don't know, you expected it to have so much impact. Like, what is the most beautiful impact that you remember, the most beautiful response for people around you? How did you feel like it affected people around you to protest about that?
I feel like the best story I can think of was, besides my coach being very proud of me and saying that, you know, I remind him of Muhammad Ali, just like a trailblazer, somebody who doesn't give a damn, and I'm going to the rebel. Besides that, so after I protested, you know, I had a meeting with the Pan American Committee and with USA Track and Field, and, you know, they were saying, you'll get reprimanded, you'll be in trouble, and everything blew up. So I was kind of nervous and anxious, like, going home. So I made sure, you know, I dressed appropriately, and I made sure people couldn't really, like, pick me out of the crowd, because, you know, I didn't know what was going to happen to me. One of the shot putters, he spotted me out in the airport while we were waiting to take the plane back to the United States. And, you know, he was just like, Gwen, is that you? And I'm like, yeah, it's me. Like, I just want to thank you for what you did on the podium. You're brave, you're gorgeous. And he just gave me all these compliments and just, like, let me know right then and there at the airport, like, how my stance affected him. I didn't know it would get that big. I didn't know a lot of people would notice me or see it. So for him to, like, spot me out from the airport and say that he's been following my career and he's a big fan of mine, and, you know, I inspired him even more with the stance I took, that was really heartfelt. It really
it's so special. It's so special. And it's important to say that we're not allowed to protest at any Olympic events, because most of the people don't know that. So when you took this stand, like, it was going against the rules, and like you took a risk for your career, the consequences for you were like directly affecting your life, your career. So it's really scary. And it's important to say that, yeah, I mean, your voice reached people. It touched people. What you did, like, it's important to say this message. And this is why I wanted to let you tell, like, the positive side of it, even if it was scary and dangerous. So what happened after you took a stand? I think you've been, by the USOC, you've been contacted, and you had like a punishment for that.
Yeah. I was contacted by the USOPC, and I wasn't contacted by the IOC, but I'm sure the IOC is the one who brought down the fire first and foremost. And they probably prompt the USOPC to punish me, because my national governing body, the Track and Field Committee, they stood in solidarity with me. They supported me 100%. But the IOC and the USOPC, because I did break the rules, they did reprimand me for the 12 months. And I feel like they only did that to me and Race because we moved the masses. You know, we did something on our podium that we earned, and, you know, we put out a message, and they didn't like the message.
Yes. And so now that everything is happening recently, how did you feel? Like, because you're standing up because you want to change, and like, you just see a video of George Floyd being murdered, it's just like, again, it doesn't change? Like, do you remember where you were when you saw this video, how you felt? Because you tried to just fight for that, and did you feel like this fight is all the time, doesn't change? Like, how did you feel?
Yeah, I feel like as a Black American, you know, we do see this all the time, and it's not a good thing. It's not good that we're used to this. I try not to watch the videos. When the George Floyd murder happened, I tried to stay away from the video for as long as I could, just because I'm tired of seeing that. I don't want to condition my mind to think that's okay. But I definitely was at practice when it happened. And I'm in Houston, where he was originally from. So I went out to the memorials. I went to march. I went to protest, and you know, I tried to go out there and make my stance known. It was really heartbreaking, and you know, Black men are killed every day. It was just another murder that happened, like I think 2 days ago.
Yeah,
it's just becoming a casualty of war, I believe, and I believe that our Black and brown women in America, you know, we're in a state of emergency. Like Tamika Mallory says, we have no place for solace. We have no place to protect us. We have no one protecting us. Everyone is always against us, and we're tired of it. Something has to change.
Yeah, but something like happened with this video, and like the world, all the world saw it, and like people were like, it's enough, and they wanted to speak out, and like I feel like even like athletes, they didn't say silent, because after all, it's not a lot of athletes that has been protesting before this event, and why now everyone was about it's time to talk. What do you think is the role of the athletes to not stay silent right now? And like, is it a moment that for everyone to also speak?
Oh yeah, it's imperative that athletes speak. I feel like now, because everybody misses sport is going to be the biggest thing that can affect this change. I believe that the athletes, especially in America, we have a big platform. You know, it's always all eyes on us, especially the basketball players and the football players. So I do believe that if athletes now don't speak now, then, you know, they're not doing their job. Every job of a professional athlete is to inspire and to promote a change. And now is the time, because 80% of athletes in America are Black. So now is the time that we speak. Now is the time that we protest. Now is the time that we say no and make America take us seriously.
That's beautiful. So what I wanted to say is like, it's, I mean, you said it's a Black athletes, but I feel like, do you think it concerns also like white athletes or white people in general to also not stay silent right now?
Oh, definitely. I do feel like white people need to stand in solidarity with us. They need to be our allies. They need to educate people. They need to self-educate, and they need to understand what they need to do in this fight for us. Absolutely. I feel like everybody helping. Everybody needs to be on one accord. But I have to say Black because we're the ones getting killed.
I understand. So one more thing is like, so it also comes from the organizations. And I know that the USOC try to do a turnout, try to listen to you right now. Do you feel like also the organization in the sports world are trying to make a change? And where do you think it's going to lead? What do you think is important to change for Black athletes?
I feel like most of the organizations, I feel like they're trying to be on the right side of history, whether it's genuine or not. Most of them can't afford to lose athletes. They can't afford to be on the wrong side of history. So let's just be honest. But like, hopefully their efforts, whether they're genuine or not, promote the change that we need to see in this country. You know, you can't really change how people feel overnight. It's a process. You know, racism and systemic racism, it's been a process. You know, it's been implemented in our culture and our society forever. So it's going to take that long to, you know, do away with it. So hopefully, you know, with these companies and these corporations and the sports business, all of that good stuff, hopefully over time, we see the change that we need to see. Whatever that.
Great. So right now, are you able to train because it affects your training or the pandemic. I know that maybe track and field could not train properly. How are you back to normal, and can you do your sports? Like, how does it?
Yeah, right now I'm back to normal. Texas has been open for a couple of weeks, so I've been able to train for a couple of weeks. So the gyms are open. The school that I throw at is open for the most part. The university that I used to throw at, they're still shut down because they're opening back up for football. But right now I still have a small school that allows me to throw there, and I'm thankful for that.
That's so cool. I cannot train, so I'm like, you're so
Really?
lucky. How does it feel to be able to train?
You can't train still?
No, we can do physical training, but we haven't touched a fall. We haven't fenced yet, so it's like
Oh,
it's been a long time. No.
What have you?
So we've been like while we're in Los Angeles, we are with our physical trainer, so we could train like do physical stuff like, you know, with bands, and like we actually bought a chest bar and some weights to be able to train at home, but no fencing. So
you need to get a broom or something, then, you know, just
yeah,
something. You know,
totally.
right with your brothers and sisters and just like stab them up.
Totally. So do you know about your competitions coming, your season? Do you have any idea how your sport's gonna be in the future?
I have no idea. So
Crazy.
I was gearing to maybe compete in September, but you know, they closed this border because Trump is doing some crazy stuff, and I have no idea. But
That's crazy to be that in it's limbo.
Right off. If anything, I'll just do practice competitions when the university opens back up. I feel like
that's good.
all I can do right now.
Okay. And so my question is like, do you think this period, this pandemic, is gonna affect differently women sport than men's sports?
Most definitely. You know, women, we are always the end of the butt, right? World loves men for some reason, and I do feel like it will affect us more than men, yeah. Because, you know, the world wants football, the world wants men's basketball, soccer, men's soccer, and you know, we'll take the short end of the stick, yeah.
Do like even in track and field, it's a really popular sport. Like, do you think like women and men are treated differently in your sport?
Oh, absolutely. I feel like, you know, that's just how the world is. For us, you know, for example, you know, women's shot put isn't on really prime time like men's shot put. Women's hammer isn't entered in a lot of events like men's hammer. I feel like the only events that get, you know, equal opportunity is maybe, you know, the sprints, the long distance, stuff like that. But usually the men are, you know, they're more welcome than women. They're, you know, people demand to see men compete more than women, still to this day. That's an issue that we're still fighting as well.
Yeah. I wanted to, do you have like challenges that you had to face like all during your career or at some time because you are a woman in your sport? Did you like people criticize you for something because you're a woman?
I think the biggest thing that I get criticized for the most, and this woman actually criticized me on national TV on Fox News actually. You know, I'm always called a man, or I'm always, you know, just frowned upon like that. My muscles are big. I look like a man. I look like a gorilla. You know, I'm always.
Oh my God, this is awful.
Yeah. And on Fox News, this woman actually said, she said women's hammer throw, but she said he raised his fist. So she called me a he. After she said hammer throw.
No, but this is stupidity, basically.
Yeah.
This is.
So if that's one of the things I always get criticized for is just having big muscles, being strong, having a great physique, and just having strong features. Not manly features, woman, but that's the biggest criticism.
Yeah. But it's also beautiful, like, because it's also be an aspect of being a woman and powerful to show that like women can be any shape, any form, what they want to be. You know, there's not only one type of woman, and this has to also hand like it's not only one type of beauty, and women are so different.
Yeah, and we're so
like
we're versatile.
Yeah.
we can change it up. We can flip it up from our hair to our face to our body.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Get into it because we love ourselves.
Totally. So this is why I want to change. Like, what is the other side? Like, what is the most beautiful thing about being a woman athlete? And people need to hear that too.
Yeah, I feel like if anything, we should have more entertainment because we're cute. We look better. So I don't know why the world does not, you know, I don't know why the world doesn't want to see us first and foremost. We look better than the guys. So we have more versatility from, you know, our hair, our makeup, our clothes, our nails. You know, we bring fun. So why people love the guy male sports.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Gwen. That was so I love it. I really loved it. I love this time together. I will have one more question because I named this show Essential because I think that women are essential, and I think we need to see that all around the world. And I would just ask you if you have in your career like three women that help you or inspire you, not necessarily that you know, but like you have in mind that inspires you and who have been essential in your career.
I feel like the first woman would definitely be my grandmother. My grandmother raised me. She protected me. She nurtured me. She tried her best to educate me and to put me in the best situations in life that I can be in. So she is definitely number one. I feel like my great-grandmother, she was essential in my life. She raised me. She taught me when I was a kid. She was my first teacher, my first preschool teacher before I went to normal school. So she was essential. And I would say the third woman would be probably my sister. I feel like my sister, she's my best friend. She's the only person I believe in this world that understands me. She's motivated me. She's always been supportive. I can be vulnerable with my sister. And I feel like that's essential too, because a lot of people don't have that person where they can be vulnerable with, cry with, laugh with, you know, just share everything and not be judged. So those are my three essential women in my life. There's more.
That is good. Three. No, it's important to see that women can connect and help each other and lift each other up. Thank you so much, Gwen, for your experience.
Thank you for having me.
Bisous, kisses, bye.
Bye.